Money on a Monday round about this time, and tax season is upon us, and if your tax affairs are pretty straightforward, SARS will most likely issue you with a auto assessment, as has been announced by the receiver of revenue, and it's designed to simplify the tax season for overall tax compliance in the country. But you need to understand some of the basics. The South African Revenue Service urging taxpayers to be patient as well, saying that notices of auto assessments will be sent out over the next few weeks. Robyn Gilbert is the head of individual tax team management at Tax Consulting SA. Good morning, Robyn. Really appreciate your time. First, explain to us why SARS has now introduced or now decided to go forward with introducing auto assessments for those with less complicated tax affairs.
Good morning, Lester. Thank you for having me today. So SARS are trying to make life easier. You see, everything is moving into the digital era, and so are SARS. So something that's also quite interesting, Lester, is the amount of registered taxpayers versus the amount of taxpayers who are actually submitting tax returns are very far from each other. So I think in this effort, SARS are also trying to ensure that all taxpayers are submitting. It is there to help at the end of the day.
Okay, so when you receive an email or a notification of a auto assessment, what do you do in that case in logging onto eFiling and submitting an auto assessment?
Oh, luckily I've had experience. On Friday I was auto assessed. So what I would recommend everyone do is, of course, you just log into your eFiling and open up the assessment issued to you. If the assessment is a bit hard to read for you, you can always open the return itself. I myself find it a bit easier to look at when there's a lot of information. So that would be really the first advice, is open the assessment, look what SARS have issued to you. What's very important with that is, of course, to also review the details. Everyone makes mistakes, even your fund, your employer, doesn't matter who, everyone does make mistakes, so it's always important to check if there's anything you don't agree with. And if you don't agree with it, it's best to raise it with the fund or with your employer directly, and they could most likely better explain it.
Yeah.
The error.
Robyn, there are mistakes with details, banking details, etc. But there's also, SARS has been notifying taxpayers also to be on alert for what could be fraudulent emails, to make sure that the email address that you're getting correspondence, or SMSs that you're getting correspondence with the receiver of revenue, all checks out, and that they're properly and from the receiver of revenue. You also have to do your bit and ensure that you're not being conned by some fraudulent activity.
And they are so smart with the fraudulent activity. You would honestly be so shocked with what people could get away with in this day and age. So what you said is completely correct. You as a taxpayer, you need to always make sure that your registered details are up to date with SARS. And whenever your information does change, always let the tax man know first.
Robyn, there's three scenarios after you're doing your assessment. You either all squares up, you don't owe anything, SARS doesn't owe anything to you. But take us through the process. Is after the auto assessment, you have a refund due, or whether you have then an obligation to pay something extra into SARS. What's then the process?
Okay, so SARS has been really, really good with the refund process. So if your assessment did result in a refund, anywhere within 24 to 72 hours, that refund should be paid out to you with the auto assessment process. In the event where your bank account might not be verified on the system, also on the refund will then only be paid to you once you do go on the system and ensure that the banking details are correct. In most cases, SARS does prescribe 21 business days, but like I say, they've been very clued up with this auto assessment process. Only up until 72 hours we've seen so far that they've taken to refund any monies. And then if you've got an amount payable, so SARS in their guideline that they issued earlier in around June, they said that amounts under 100 Rand will roll over to the next year. But any amounts above 100 Rand or so is advisable that you settle with SARS to avoid any monthly interest earnings on that. You might think you don't have a liability with SARS, you only log into again in the next 5 years, and you've suddenly got a large liability from months and months of interest. So if you look at your assessment, they don't always have the payment instruction available on that. And again, if you are not too sure how to navigate SARS, I would recommend trying to just draw a statement of account. And on that statement of account, your payment reference to SARS will be available, and of course the amounts owing.
Robyn Gilbert, really appreciate your time. She's with Tax Consulting South Africa. That with Money on a Monday.